Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the second season of Crunch Time with Kruck. We're super excited to have you here. It's a bit different of a setup. I'm not at campus anymore. Finished all my finals, and I'm actually back home and in the house. So you can see we're filming from my room. Got a fat ad up here. Got my little board up here. Yeah, so new setting, new season, and we're going to have a lot more exciting things coming up. Later in the show, we have Tim Hacksaw Hackett. He'll be talking about the NHL picture and things to look forward in that. And then later out through the season, we're going to have a lot more people that I really talk to, get an in-depth dive, and really pick the brains of some experts in these sport fields. But before we go any further, we're going to start off with some baseball talk. We got two things today. Why are the White Sox the team to watch in the MLB right now? Before the season started, I had them in my top 3 for best offenses in baseball. When you really look at their order, there really isn't a weak spot. Their weakest link might be Nick Madrigal at second base. But honestly, just looking at the team as a whole, a lot of great offense, a lot of pop off the bat, and a lot of speed as well. Is Monty Grandel not really known for his speed, but he does have the pop on the bat, and he is a great RBI guy. Everybody else in the lineup really does have quite a bit of speed. The AL reigning MVP is Jose Abreu, the first baseman for the White Sox. He might be another person on the slower end of the spectrum, but he still can motor his way around the bases when he has to. But that's just offense. You need defense, and you also need pitching, which is one of the things that I thought the White Sox were really lacking coming into the season. But they most definitely proved me wrong so far this season. They've already had one no-hitter. And I mean, just a great rotation this year for some reason. And they have a sub-3 ERA as a rotation average with Lucas Giolito, Lance Lynn, Dylan Cease, Carlos Rodon, and then Dallas Keuchel. I mean, it's one of those things where you really don't see it happening on paper, which is why everybody loves baseball, because it's not one of those things that you can just look at and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's most definitely going to be a great team. Yoan Moncada has been going crazy. You really got to take advantage of the team right now. Their defense has been playing lights out. Tim Anderson has been playing well. Yoan Moncada at third base is just an absolute picking machine. And then, the outfield as well. Just really doing a great job staying in front of pitches and playing well. And then their rookie, Yermin Mercedes, he's been having a great year, to say the least. He's in the running for Rookie of the Month for probably 3 to 4 more months still yet to come. And somebody was quoted talking about him, and I remember him distinctly saying that he worked with Omar Narvaez. So this was a similar idea. I also saw a YouTube video of a bat flip that he did in the Winter Leagues showing early evidence of Yarman's flair, and that was none other than Han. So Mr. Han said that one. So it's honestly just a great feeling right now in Chicago. They're loving these guys. They may be the new Chicago team. Who knows? The Chicago Cubs are one of the interesting teams in the MLB as well. Most teams, you really get the feeling where you have to succeed to be loved, which, as a Milwaukee Brewer fan, yes, you have to succeed to be loved. As a Chicago Bears fan, you have to succeed to be loved. The Chicago Cubs, you can lose 100 games a year and people are still going to cheer for you. That's crazy. Chicago Cubs, they're deep rooted into Chicago, and it's one of the things where they're never going to be loved conditionally. They're going to be loved unconditionally no matter what. Sean Sumi, he can back me up on that one from previous podcasts, being a diehard Cubs fan, and he lived through the 90s and the early 2000s where they were pretty bad. But you really just got to take it, one step at a time here. But Chicago is definitely a team to be on the lookout for. Make sure you set your sights on them. moving forward because they're going to be a fun team to watch. You know, they are electric. They're also young. They're really young, so they're going to be a team to watch coming early on in the years. The oldest part about them, probably their pitching staff. They're going to need new pitchers eventually, but you got to look at the bright side, and the bright side's looking pretty good right now for the White Sox. Moving forward, we're going to send it down to Kansas City and catch back up with Tim Hacksaw Hackett with the NHL playoff picture. Take it away, Tim.
Thanks a lot, Kruck. It's Tim Hackett, your self-appointed NHL insider back here in Kansas City. Really excited to be with you as we get the 2021 Stanley Cup playoffs up and running. This is my favorite sporting event, no questions asked, so thanks for letting me come along for the ride. Let's talk format first and foremost. 16 teams make the postseason, just like normal, but unlike normal where it's broken into two 8-team conferences where the winner of the Eastern Conference plays the winner of the Western Conference, and the winner of that series wins the Stanley Cup. This year it's all different. 4 teams per division and 4 total divisions. Number 1 team in the division from a season in which teams only played games inside their division all season, so they played 8 games against the other 7 teams in the division. That's how you get the 56-game regular season. Teams haven't played anybody outside of their division all year, and so you'll play teams from the division for the first 2 rounds of the Stanley Cup playoffs. The first time that a team will play somebody else will be when they make the Final Four. When we get to the Final Four, the team left standing that's had the most points in the standings in the regular season will be the number 1 team. They will play the number 4 team, the team with the 4th most points of the 4 final teams remaining. 2 will play 3. It'll be 2 more best of 7 game series. The winners of those 2 series will then play in the Stanley Cup final, and of course the winner of that series will win the Stanley Cup. Let's take a quick whirlwind around each of the 8 first round series. I'm super excited for the postseason this year, as I normally am, but this year I think is even more so than usual. I don't think that there's more than 1 or 2 series that look to be lopsided in one way or another. The parity in the NHL is what makes it so special. So there are so many really good teams. So many teams can beat presumed better teams if they just play well over the course of a series. We see it happen almost every year. There's almost always some kind of upset somewhere along the way. You never know where it can come from. A great way to predict postseason success is if a team has a good goaltender or a team has a goaltender that is hot and playing well. You will hear this from me a lot in this report. Good goaltending makes or breaks a team's postseason run. Put another way, a team can win in the Stanley Cup playoffs with good goaltending. Great goaltending can mask a lot of other issues a team might have over the course of the regular season, yes, but especially over the course of a postseason run. Great goaltending, hot goaltending by a goaltender that's kind of come out of nowhere can save a lot of other issues. But a team cannot win with bad goaltending or streaky goaltending. You can't do it. You might be able to win a couple of series if the rest of your team is able to put it together, but you can't win the Stanley Cup with bad goaltending. You can win it with good goaltending. Great goaltending helps a lot, but you can't win with bad goaltending. It is not possible. So a lot of these teams have question marks between the sticks coming into the postseason, and that is a major key for me in a lot of these series for a lot of these teams. Who is going to be the goaltender? And even if we know who the goaltender is, can they play well enough to win them a series and to win them multiple series? So let's start north of the border in the Canadian division. There will be a Canadian team in the Final Four. That does not happen very much. A Canadian team has not won the Stanley Cup since 1993, and they will have a team in the running this year just by default. Number 1, Toronto in this division against number 4, Montreal. I really think this is the only series of the 8 that looks lopsided. Toronto was a juggernaut this year. They were easily the best team in this division. Austin Matthews scored 41 goals in the regular season in 56 games. That is an insane clip. He and Mitch Marner and John Tavares are a fantastic 1-2-3 up top. Questions in goal. First example of this, Frederik Andersen. Is he healthy and ready to go? I'm not sure. But regardless of that, I don't really think Montreal has the firepower to keep up with Toronto. On the other side of it, Toronto has a history of choking in the postseason. Ask anybody. So it would surprise me quite a bit if Montreal pulls this series out, but it would not surprise me if they make a series out of it, and that would make Toronto concerned going into the second round, where if they win, they would play the winner of Edmonton and Winnipeg. I think this is a really intriguing series. I think Winnipeg has a lot of really good players. I like their defense core. I like so many of their forwards. forwards like Blake Wheeler, who's been in this league for a long time. Their goaltender, Connor Hellebuck, is really good, a former Vezina Trophy winner. But Edmonton, on the other side, is a whole different beast. Connor McDavid scored 104 points in the regular season, and he even has one game in the regular season left as of this recording to even add to that total. 104 plus points in 56 games is just insane. He and Leon Draisaitl are the best 1-2 punch in the NHL in terms of forwards. Their goaltending is a major question mark. Mike Smith is a veteran, has been in this league for more than a dozen years. I don't know how well he is going to play for them. If he can play anywhere decently well, they should win this series. But again, a major question mark, and he was kind of their undoing in the postseason last year. Mikko Koskinen, their backup, was no help. So I think this is a fascinating series. Edmonton should be the favorite team. Let's talk about the West Division. The Colorado Avalanche clinched the President's Trophy. That goes to the team with the best overall record in the regular season on their last game. So they're the number one team in that division. They play St. Louis, the 2019 Stanley Cup champs, the champs from the season with the most recent full season, I should say. Colorado is just a fantastic offensive team. They have an amazing top line with Gabriel Landeskog, Nathan MacKinnon, and Mikko Rantanen. Probably the best threesome in the league. They can score from all up and down their lineup, and they can score from their defense, which is a very important skill to have. And for the first time in a long time, they've actually gotten decent, and not just decent, but excellent goaltending from Philip Grubauer, who will be a finalist for the Vezina Trophy for best goaltender in the league, if you ask me. Put that together, and Colorado is a very complete team. St. Louis has a ton of question marks. They've had a lot of injury issues this year. Their best player, Vladimir Tarasenko, is kind of a game-time decision, if you will, for this series. If he's out, I don't think St. Louis stands much of a chance. If he's in, he's good enough to help St. Louis make this a competitive series, but Colorado will definitely be favored. The other series in this division, number 2 Vegas against number 3 Minnesota. This is the best Minnesota team in a long time. They're finally offensively open. They've kind of changed their coaching philosophy over the last year or so. Kirill Kaprizov, I mentioned him on the last episode of this show. He's going to win the Calder Trophy for Rookie of the Year. He's dynamic. He's very talented. And Minnesota won 5 of the 8 games against Vegas this regular season. I think Vegas is excellent. They completely remade their defense core. The team is such a fascinating story. They have 2 excellent goaltenders. I have no idea who's going to start the majority of the games this series for them in between the sticks. I really have no idea. That's a big question mark for them, but the difference between them and maybe another team is that both of their goaltending options are good. Marc-Andre Fleury and Robin Lehner have both been excellent this season, so I don't know that they can go wrong. Vegas will still be the favorite team in this series, even though Minnesota won 5 out of the 8 regular season games. In the Central Division, the Carolina Hurricanes are the number 1 team out of nowhere. I really don't think this is a team that people are talking about a lot. Their defense is really solid, has been for years. They have a couple of elite players up top, like Sebastian Aho, who is a bona fide superstar in this league. And their goaltending is another question mark because they have 3 guys who have started for them this season. I don't know who's going to start this series. It could be anybody, but the other good thing about that, like I just said for Vegas, is regardless of where Carolina goes, they have a lot of good choices. All 3 of them have been really good for them this year. Nashville, on the other side, UC Saros used to be their backup as their goaltender. He is now their full-time starter. Their former starter, Pekka Rinne, is now the backup. I don't really think Nashville has the firepower to compete with Carolina. They score the fewest goals among any playoff teams, even behind St. Louis and Montreal, who I think are both weaker. So I don't really know if Nashville has the firepower to keep up with Carolina, which is kind of a trendy pick among folks in the know to maybe be Stanley Cup contenders here in 2021, which is just fascinating to think about. The other series in the Central Division, first ever postseason meeting between the 2 NHL teams that call the state of Florida home. Number 2, Florida Panthers, and the number 3, Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa Bay, the Stanley Cup champions from last season in the bubble, but they are coming in as the underdogs. They're probably going to be the favorite team by the betting lines, but Florida beat them out in the regular season series. They won 5 out of the 8 games, but Tampa Bay, the reason that they've kind of slipped this year in comparison to last year is because they're without their best player. Nikita Kucherov, the reigning league MVP, who was fantastic last season, hasn't played a game this season due to off-season surgery. That was always the plan. He is expected to be ready to go for the postseason if he is available. That makes Tampa Bay so dangerous. They have so many great players up and down their lineup, and their goaltender, Andrei Vasilevsky, is loads better than Florida's goaltender, Sergei Bobrovsky, who I haven't even liked, even back when he played for Max Williams' Columbus Blue Jackets back in the day. So If Kucherov is available for Tampa Bay, look out. If he's not available and Steven Stamkos and Victor Hedman are also not available for Tampa Bay, don't overlook Florida. This is a great team, one of the best, probably the best team in their recent history. And if they win this series, I expect them to give Carolina a really tough task in the second round. Last division is the East Division, and I save this for last because there's so much parity in the NHL, but especially in this division. The number 1 team, Pittsburgh, separated from the number 4 team, the Islanders, by just 6 points in the standings, 77-71. So I think either of those series can go either way. Pittsburgh is the number 1 team in the division. If you know anything about the NHL over the last dozen years, you've heard the names Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. They're 2 of the best players in recent league history, 2 all-time greats. They are both still playing at a high level. They give Pittsburgh a chance against anybody. New York is a fantastic defensive team. They're extremely well coached by Barry Trotz, who won the Stanley Cup in 2018 with the Washington Capitals. So I think, and Pittsburgh won 6 out of the 8 regular season games between these 2 teams. I think Pittsburgh is the favorite team. They ought to win this series, but New York is going to grind it out. Pittsburgh will have to win games 2-1 against the Islanders. They make things tough to watch, some argue, because they play so compactly defensively, but that's their identity, and they're not going to get away from it. If New York can get good enough goaltending from Semyon Varlamov, who has been excellent this year, Tristan Jarry is the Pittsburgh goaltender. I have no idea what he can bring. This is going to be his first series as a starter, really, so can he give them something? He needs to be decent for Pittsburgh to win, but I still think Pittsburgh ought to win. The last series to talk about, Washington against Boston, 2-3 in this division. A lot of great storylines in here, including Zdeno Chara playing against his former team, the Bruins, a team that he was the captain of for 14 seasons, helped lead them to the Stanley Cup in 2011. But I think this is such a mega close series. Washington has owned Boston over the last half dozen seasons. This is not the same Washington team. First and foremost, Braden Holtby, their goaltender, is gone. He plays for Vancouver now. And the 2 goaltenders that are left behind, Ilya Samsonov and Vitek Vanacek, are just not very experienced. Neither of them have any playoff history at all. I have no idea who's going to start for Washington in this series. On the other side, Tuukka Rask, when he's healthy, is one of the best goaltenders in the NHL. Boston is very deep, top to bottom. They can score from a lot of different ways. Taylor Hall has given them a legitimate number 2 line forward that they have been lacking for years to play behind their elite top 3. Their defense, when healthy, is very strong. And again, like I said, Rask is an elite goaltender. Washington at the top is as good as anybody. Alex Ovechkin is one of the best goal scorers in the history of this league. And Nick Backstrom, his longtime running mate, is an excellent center. At the top, they're as good as anybody. I don't really like their depth, and I don't trust their goaltending to hold up. If it does, regardless of who starts for Washington, if their goaltending is decent enough, the Capitals are good enough to win this series, but I think Boston is well equipped to poach a minor upset. That's my look at the first round of the playoffs. Looking forward to being with you the rest of the way. Back to you.
That was Tim Hacksaw Hackett. He was talking about the NHL playoff picture down in Kansas City. We brought it back to Illinois, and we're going to talk some more about the NBA, another winter sport that doesn't really get as much attention outside of playoff picture, but it is getting pretty close to it. Looking at it, there's really only 2 teams that haven't sealed their fate yet, and that is the Trailblazers and the Lakers. The Lakers right now are looking to be in that play-in tournament, which LeBron went on quote and said was a dumb idea. The Trailblazers right now sitting in 6th in the Western, so they're kind of in a hot seat right now. They have the same record as the Lakers, but they are above them when you look at the difference, points per game winning by. So you kind of want to see, I personally kind of want to see the Lakers in the play-in tournament because the Lakers draw crowds. The NBA is a money-making organization. Hands down, everybody knows this. The NBA is looking for money through basketball. So you want to see the Lakers play as many games as possible because that's going to get the money into the NBA. And that's what you want to see. That's what pays people's contracts. That's what pays these companies. That's what makes, that's honestly why the Warriors are now worth $5 billion. That's why Mark Cuban is so rich, because he bought the Dallas Mavericks for nothing, and now he's sitting on quite a lot of money because it is a money-making organization. Looking at it the other way, in the Eastern Conference, everybody sealed their fate. My Chicago Bulls have fallen short. They will not be in the postseason this year. So you're going to hear it from me first right now. My 2 teams to watch out for in the East are going to be the Brooklyn Nets, obviously just super high-powered. you really can't say enough about him. I mean, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Blake Griffin has his, brief moments of childhood where he's still, jumping 30 feet off the floor. DeAndre Jordan, what can you say about him? He's just been an absolute rebounding machine with those guys. But a team to really be on the lookout for that I don't think is getting enough attention, and it's old-fashioned to me, but I really like the Boston Celtics. I think the Celtics, just missed the guaranteed playoffs during the play-in tournament. I think it's going to be an easy walk in the park for them through that play-in tournament because the Pacers, their main player is a center, and they don't have much after that. The Wizards, all that is backcourt right there. You got Bradley Beal, you got Russell Westbrook, who, congratulations to him, just set the all-time record for triple-doubles, an amazing player. People really don't see it that often, but if you can get a triple-double, he averaged a triple-double for over a season and a half, and people still don't consider him a great player. He will go down as one of the best to ever play, and he does remind me a lot of Oscar Robertson because back when Oscar Robertson was playing, people really didn't like him because, he got rebounds, he made assists, he got points. He's doing everything that Russell Westbrook's doing, but Russell Westbrook's doing it in a time where there's a lot more talent in the league, so that's a lot more commendable. But Oscar Robertson, not to throw shade on him, he was a great player. But I don't think they're going to be able to put up much of a fight against the Celtics, and the Celtics just got to beat the Hornets. And the Hornets this year have just been buzz. Honestly, not to be too, not to use the pun, Hornets and buzz, but that's all they've really been this year is just a bunch of buzz. And they got to get things moving. LaMelo Ball is pretty much their entire publicity stunt. There's a couple other players. Gordon Hayward's been doing decently. A couple other players here or there, but LaMelo Ball is really the big name on that team. And that's a young player who's never been in the playoffs before, so you got to be on the lookout for him. Looking at some other things, back to the West, the Utah Jazz. Where did they come from the entire season? Nobody ever expected the Jazz to be this high up in the rankings, but they are. They're doing extremely well. It goes the Jazz, the Suns, and then the Nuggets. So, 2-3 years ago when all those big names were moving to the Lakers, the Clippers, and then, a couple other players going to the Warriors even further back, those teams are all in the play-in tournament, and then the Clippers are, in the normal playoffs. But these three teams, the Jazz, the Suns, and the Nuggets, they're getting it done on their own. There is no, farm system. There is there's kind of like a G League, a D League, but, there's really no farm system for these teams. They're just making it up as they go. And so far, it's been working for them, honestly. These teams have been doing pretty well. The Jazz, 51-20. That's an extremely good record. The Jazz were 51-20. The Suns were 50-21. And those two teams have, they've kind of gone under the radar. People don't really talk about them that much, and honestly, I think it's a sad thing because they're really good. Nikola Jokic on the Nuggets, his team's in third right now in the West, and they're 47-24. And people are saying that he's not an MVP caliber guy. Look what he's done. He took the Nuggets into the playoffs and have a great seed with them. LeBron James, people are talking about him being MVP, and his team's got to play in the play-in tournament. And he sat out a long time with a high ankle sprain, and he said he'll never be as good as he was again. Which, to be fair, his prime years are behind him. No doubt about it. His prime years were in Miami, and they're gone. He'll never get them back. But to have the audacity to say, I'll never be that good again, that's one of those things that when people compare him to Jordan, that's going to stand out in my opinion, because Jordan would never go on record and say, I'll never be as good as I was again. Jordan would go on record and say, I'm going to be twice as good as I was last time, because that's just the kind of guy Jordan was. Growing up in the city where Jordan played the majority of his basketball, that is the kind of guy Jordan really was. So the NBA's really a lookout. My pick for the finals, I'm going to go Nets, and then I'm going to go Jazz. I think the Nets and the Jazz are going to be in the playoffs together, and I think the Jazz are going to fall to the Nets 4-2. I don't think it's going to be a clean sweep, and I don't think it's going to go all 7, but it'll go 6 games. Moving forward, the NFL schedule just dropped. Notice my James Robinson jersey for the Jaguars. Represent Rockford Lutheran graduates. And looking at week 1 for the NFL, there's a couple games that really stand out. And I want you guys to take a look at them as well. Here are the games that stand out to me. The first game of the year, Dallas versus Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, the reigning Super Bowl champions. The cheapest ticket to that game right now is $400. And this is May 16th, 2021. So the closer we get to the day, the more expensive it's going to be. But looking at it, Dallas, they're getting Dak Prescott back. Hopefully, Ezekiel Elliott, hopefully he'll start. They do have another rookie running back who may fill the shoes, but I think Ezekiel Elliott's going to be in there. They just picked up a lot of great players from the draft. CeeDee Lamb is coming back after his rookie season, looking to break out a little bit more here with the Cowboys. But that game should be a good game because Tampa Bay, their offense is getting a little bit older, a little bit more mature. Dallas, they're getting kind of older, but they're still a bit younger than the Buccaneers. I think that's going to be a great game to watch, but I do believe that the Buccaneers will take the game by 10 points. I believe the score will be around the range of 17-27. That's my personal guess. Moving down the list to Sunday's matchups, another matchup I think everybody should be on the lookout for to start the season is Arizona at Tennessee. Now, I know what you're saying. Arizona, they have so many superstars on the team. Kyler Murray, not really a superstar, but he'll get there someday. They have Larry Fitzgerald, one of the best wide receivers ever. DeAndre Hopkins. They got 2 great running backs out of the backfield. I can't think of their names right now, but then their defense has stepped up tremendously with the leadership role they gained with J.J. Watt, and then so many other great key players on that defense. That's going to be a team you got to be on the lookout for because they're going to come in and they're going to be hungry to play. You got to be on the lookout for them. But they're going to play a pretty hard-hitting running back their first week with Derrick Henry on the Tennessee Titans. And Tannehill is probably going to have that job for a long time to come because he's an accurate quarterback when he has to be. He's not a pass-heavy quarterback. He's the kind of quarterback where he'll hand the ball off 8 times out of 10, and he'll throw it the other 2, and then he'll complete them. 1 for probably 7 yards, 1 for probably 5 yards. So you want to look at those. You want to be run heavy if you are the Tennessee Titans. Back-to-back years, Derrick Henry's had 2,000 yards rushing. 2,000 yards rushing in 2 years. Absolutely phenomenal running back. You really want to get him the ball as often as possible. And as mentioned, that one is going to be at Tennessee, which the Nissan Stadium, personally, it's not one of my favorite stadiums, but home field advantage is 100% real, and hopefully there will be fans back in the stadium. So Arizona will have to battle home team. They'll have to battle one of the best running backs to play the game in the modern era, as well as their defense isn't the worst. So I could see this truly being a high-scoring affair, but I could see Arizona scoring quickly and then Tennessee running the ball down the field, scoring back, but not as quickly. So if Arizona can find a way to score in the last 4 minutes of the game, I believe that if they could get up in the last 4 minutes of the game, I believe that they could actually end up taking this game. That was going to be a close game. I'm going to give it a 3-point swing. I'm going to go 24-27. I don't think any of these games are going to reach high 30s, but it's just one football lover and sport lover's opinion. So if I'm wrong, don't nail me at the cross. Don't burn me at the stake. Another reason I wore my Jaguars jersey, we're looking at Jacksonville versus Houston. The big story for Houston, everybody knows, Deshaun Watson. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? If you're Houston and you still have 22 cases of sexual assault or harassment or misconduct, whatever it's titled in the court case, are you going to start him? Absolutely not. You cannot start a potential criminal. You cannot do it. Houston knows this, so they're going to have to start their backup, which means they're going to be weaker out the gate. Will Fuller, he's going to have to step up, and he's going to have to try to carry that offense. They're missing a couple key players on defense, which is going to hurt them. So it may be an easy win for Jacksonville out the gate. And just looking at Jacksonville, they have ETN in the backfield now, who's more of a passing running back. They have James Robinson, represent the jersey. He's coming out of the backfield generally with the ball on a handoff. Trevor Lawrence, I mean, college football, ESPN and NFL have been, they've been shooting sunshine at him since he was a rookie in college. So, I mean, he's got big shoes to fill, but I think he can fill them. I honestly think he'll be one of the best players in the NFL come the next, 5, 10, possibly 15 years. I don't think he's going to last as long as Brady because Brady's just different. But, I mean, that's going to be a good team to watch out for. They're going to be a phenomenal team if they can get the right chemistry and get the right, get to mesh together correctly. Their defense, honestly, I think their defense needs a little bit more work. But I'm not there in the huddle at Jacksonville, so I'm just going to leave it at that. It wouldn't be right of me if I didn't talk about just 2 more games. Green Bay at New Orleans. Green Bay may not have Aaron Rodgers moving forward. The contract dispute, we'll get into that later, but they may not have him moving forward. New Orleans, looking at that, Drew Brees just retired. And would you start Jameis Winston or would you start Tyson Hill? Tyson Hill is getting paid a lot of money, like quarterback dollars, to be a basically flex utility player in terms of baseball. So it's really up in the air. What are you going to do there? But yeah, Green Bay and New Orleans, 2 passing heavy teams, may not have their 2 best passers of the last 2 decades. So that's going to be something to look out for. And then the last one I want to touch on, being a Bears fan, I'm going to touch on Chicago at Los Angeles. Los Angeles just got Matt Stafford, so it's kind of weird. Matt Stafford just got out of our division, and he's still going to start with the Chicago Bears. So, a little bit of friendly territory, if you don't mind me saying. Los Angeles Rams looking to get back on track. They had a great year, not too long ago. The wheels kind of fell off the wagon, if you will. And they're looking to get back into it with the new pickup of the veteran quarterback Matt Stafford. The Chicago Bears just drafted Justin Fields, and early predictions for the Rookie of the Year rankings. Justin Fields is early predicted to be Offensive Rookie of the Year as well as straight-up Rookie of the Year. It's big shoes to fill early and out of the gate. It could be redemption. Russell Wilson fell back in the draft a couple spots, and, he ended up going to 2 Super Bowls, won 1 Super Bowl. And, that was just basically him saying, hey, you guys should have picked me for all these awards. And, nobody ever did. Justin Fields, if he doesn't win the awards, he could have that chip on his shoulder. And, he could be ready to just absolutely rain havoc on people. And that's going to be it for Sunday's games. Monday's game, the Raiders of Las Vegas, the 2-year Vegas team versus the Baltimore Ravens. I think the Ravens are just going to walk away with that game. It is a Monday night game. Monday night games traditionally aren't the most entertaining of games, but it is another day of football, which we always thank the NFL and rarely Roger Goodell for Monday Night Football. But I think the Ravens are going to win that game by at least 10 points. They may be one of the first teams of the year to score 30 or 40 points. The Raiders, I think the Raiders are 1 or 2 more years away from being a decent team. Honestly, if they go 8-8 this year, I think it's a success. I think that 8-8 for this Raiders team would be a great spot for them to be at, but they need to do better. They just straight up need to do better. And then the last topic I'm going to discuss today, before we throw in the Aaron Rodgers stuff at the end, Albert Pujols, the longtime Cardinal and the longtime Angel, is now with another team in LA, the Dodgers. The LA Dodgers have signed Albert Pujols to be a quote-unquote utility player with the team. But what utility can Albert Pujols really bring to the table? He played first, he played third, and he also plays right field occasionally. He's not as young and as spry as he used to be, but the pop off his bat is still there when he can get the bat in the right spot. Is it just kind of like, is it adult leadership maybe? You want to get that adult in there to really spice things up? I don't know. I mean, the Dodgers are a young team. Mookie Betts is probably, one of the more older players on the team. You also got Justin Turner there. You got Max Muncy. Clayton Kershaw for the pitchers. He's probably the most experienced, and he's definitely got to look up to. He'll go down as one of the greatest pitchers to ever play the game when he finally retires. But why would you really pick up Albert Pujols? They're getting him pretty cheap on the dollar, so it's not a huge drain on the pocket of the Dodgers. But that's just another spot you got to fill come playoff time, and who are you going to send down? The starting 9 for the Dodgers are really good. Will Smith behind the plate, Max Muncy at first. The second baseman, Garvin Lux, is pretty good. Corey Seager at shortstop, Justin Turner at third base. The outfield is constantly stacked, especially when you got Mookie Betts, and hopefully, Bellinger can be back in time. If not, you have two other, not superstar but all-star outfielders there, so that's going to be a great thing to really look at. And where does Pujols fit in? I don't think he really does. Honestly, he would be kind of like a first base coach if I'm looking at this team. That'd be the only spot where I'd really put him, but maybe they brought him in as like a semi batting coach kind of thing where, like people watch him hit, they like pick his brain on the, in the dugout. And then when they go up there, they try something new and it works. And, hey, that's why we brought him in, hey. But I think the Dodgers are one of those teams that's just looking to break out in a big way. They've dropped 5 series so far this season. That's not really what the reigning World Series champions should do. But then again, this year in baseball has been a pitching heavy baseball league with all of the no-hitters we're seeing and all of these perfect games going into the 7th, 8th inning, and then they're losing it because they give up a single. So one of the greatest pitchers of all time, Nolan Ryan, had the most one-hit games, was somewhere around the 8 to 10 region. And so far this year, we've had at least 5 or 6 one-hit games, which is crazy because in a day and age where people want to see the home runs, people want to see the huge hits, the dives, the wall scrapers for a triple, we're getting a lot of good pitching, and people are starting to like the pitching aspect of it, and that's starting to make me happy as well because pitching is one of those aspects in baseball that's really underappreciated, and you really got to just look at it as a whole and be happy with it. We're running out of time here, so we're going to move quickly into Aaron Rodgers. This is probably going to be a reoccurring topic that we talk about, but Aaron Rodgers, just looking at it, he doesn't really look too excited to continue his time in Green Bay. Even the star wide receiver for Green Bay, Devontae Adams, he doesn't really want to stay in Green Bay that much longer. Alan Lazard, he's still kind of young, so he's not really going to comment on all that just as of yet because, he doesn't really want to miss his footing, to say. But Aaron Rodgers' backup is Jordan Love, and then third string is Blake Bortles, newly signed. Blake Bortles, I don't think he's going to be there after the summer ball, after spring training. But that's one of those things where you kind of sign him to help train Jordan Love because, Aaron Rodgers is not going to help train him anymore because he's out. He wants to go to Denver. He wants to go to Vegas. He wants to go to all these other teams that have been offering him what he wants. And Green Bay is just like, hey, you already signed this contract. We thought that you were going to be MVP, and this is what we wanted to pay you as an MVP. But Aaron Rodgers, now that he won it, he said, hey, I'm worth more than that, so give me my money or I want out. And that's one of those things where you're not gonna really do-si-do with an NFL MVP, yeah. So honestly, I'd say give the man his money. I'm not a Packer fan, but the dude's earned it. give the man his money. If you want to get rid of him, I hope you would have done it before the draft, because, I mean, the Bears would have loved to have had number 12, Aaron Rodgers, but we like Justin Fields just as much. So, yeah, Jordan Love. He would be the next starting quarterback if Rodgers were to leave. And just looking at the past of it, which, for those who aren't hardcore history fans as well as sports fans, I'll let you know. The two quarterbacks prior to Aaron Rodgers, Favre played for 16 seasons and left. Aaron Rodgers played for 16 seasons, is now looking to leave. Bart Starr played for 16 seasons and left. Is 16 the unlucky number for Green Bay? Will Jordan Love be there for another, give or take, 15 seasons? Who knows? Well, who knows? Until next time, this is Crunch Time with Kruck telling you don't forget to walk your dog, because if you don't walk your dog, you're going to be like Greg Maddux and never walk anybody.